Hi everyone, welcome back to another Disney Infinity tutorial. This one is called How to Cut the Power. Okay, and we want to get through this doorway, and when you press the button, before you even get a chance to press the button, the power gets cut. Yeah, you press it, it doesn't work. Now, I've always wanted to do this one, and if you've ever downloaded my Matrix, you'll see a lot of alien quotes, because at some point I wanted to do an alien toy box. Like they're coming out of the walls, and use all the quotes from aliens. And probably try and do some of my horror things. So I'm not too sure how to do that yet. I'm still thinking of playing around with that one. But I also quite like the fact that when you got lightsabers and it goes dark, you can see all this come up on the screen. And by having it go dark, all those little light balls can just give you enough vision so you can see what's happening. So I quite like this bit. Now I've also got some enemies to respawn as well. And the good thing here is when we'll have a little lightsaber battle in the dark, and we'll have the lights come up. Now there's one thing I was trying to get to happen, and that was when I wanted to try and get her special move, Ahsoka's special move with the lightsaber spinning round. And every time I tried to do it, I kept on getting hit or shot, which stopped it from happening, which was slightly annoying. But you get this cool effect in pitch black. There we go, she has kill. It's quite a cool effect, and also it changes the type of game. So we've had a very bright snowy level, and then suddenly everything becomes dark. So the same level now is slightly different, and people have got to remember where they've been. Now another thing about the power generator, you can switch this on and off during normal gameplay, and the whole purpose of this was that hopefully a user would find those things. And then realise when the power gets cut where to go back and go and do it. So I've got to make it still work, but not actually affect the rest of the story. Come on, let's get this finished. Just blocking the shots like that. So I would like this. There we go. Doing two more left. Right. Have I got enough? Oh, I've got enough for one of her moves. Can I do a Jedi special move? That would have been better if I had more people, but that's still quite cool. Right, so we come around to the generator, which is all deactivated. And there is a button here. Now when we press that, the generator comes on. You'll see the lights boot up. And the skies return. And this, by the way, is a lot easier than you think. It's just the trickiest part of the whole thing is where do we set those signals to occur? When do we trigger those things to go? And if you've been watching this whole clip, in fact, you watch any of my clips, and I probably say this again in most of them. So I do apologise if you find that I ramble on or I repeat certain things. But there are certain key things with any design that you're doing with it, because this is programming. Let's just face it, guys, this is not playing games here. If you're building toy boxes, you're actually programming, yeah? And it is really good. The way you can program it is amazing. But basically, if you structure it, yeah, if you structure your programming, it makes things easier and you can follow it. And you can track where it goes. It's where if you just dump everything together, it's very hard to look at where they go. And it's also important that you'll notice underneath this map I've got my logic gates spread out in different areas and not all clammed in one area, because it allows me to go back and edit those. But that's just me rambling on. And by the way, just to let you know, I'm going to repeat that again probably in the next clip coming, but hey, oh well. Right, so now the power comes back on. When we walk back in, the power doesn't get cut off, and now I can press the button and the door will now open. And now into the final stage of my evacuate from Echo Base. Right, so now we've got a few little enemies to kill here. Just see a bit more of Ahsoka's lightsaber action. Now, of all the characters that we've got, I personally like the Finn character and obviously Boba Fett. But I think in our household, Ahsoka's the favourite, which is one of the early ones. I think she's been probably my favourite character in the Star Wars Rebels and Star Wars Clone Wars. I can't wait for the the final season of Star Wars Rebels. Now, an interesting fact that's just been posted from Mr. A Station himself is, could Snoke's from the Star Wars The Force Awakens, could he be Ezra? Now, I'm slightly freaking out about the whole idea about this. This is awesome. So let's have anyone who watches Star Wars Rebels put your ideas on how cool would that be if that is the case. And it's no one knows yet, so it's only a theory, right? So don't shoot me if it turns out to be the case. And it's not really my fault anyway. It's Mr. A Station came up with the comment. But that would be so cool. That would be amazing. So yeah, even more stoked to watch the series. Yeah, sorry, it's that's a bad pun, but I thought it was quite cool. Right, so we're coming to the end of the level. This bit here's got nothing to do with the bit I'm going to show you, but I always want to show the Falcon. I always think the Falcon looks cool. Right, and remember, if you do like this, post a like, and if you don't, just leave it alone. You don't have to say anything. Just keep those to yourselves. Okay, guys? Right, let's go and show you how to put this together. Those have been following my Echo base levels over the last few days. Your map should be up to this particular stage. And this little section over here, this little box, is where we're going to put our power generator. That's where we've based our little unit. So let's go to our Star Wars Origin toys. And another thing I keep repeating, how many good toys were in the Empire playset. So the Rise Against the Empire, there's so many good toys on there. I quite like this, but yeah, just rambling now, sorry. So anyway, so get the power generator, which is basically a big giant logic gate, but it's quite a cool little effect. So we've got this generator that we're going to put inside the base. Okay, so what we want to do now is switch the thing on and off and get this area to work. So we need to set a few little things up. So we need a few things in here. Let's go back to our creativity toys. So obviously we need a button to turn the thing on. Yeah, so obviously we need a power button. Alright, which is quite straightforward. So we'll put this little button here. Put it down at the side. Okay, and I need 3 logic gates. That is all I need. 3 logic gates to create these set of switches. Okay. Any of those that are in secondary school or high school doing physics and stuff like that, you do electrical circuit in your physics lessons. Logic gates, exactly what this is. Yeah. So theoretically, you're actually having a physics lesson at the moment and looking how to deal with logic. So any parents getting grief playing this game, so no, I'm learning physics. I'm learning how to switch the ands and ors in programming. Again, getting sidetracked. Okay, so they're the 3 logic gates that we've got. We also need one last thing, and that is our sky changer. Dun, dun, dun. And obviously we'll hide all this logic out of the way when we finish, but let's put the sky changer here. Right, so we have our little power button here, and when we press that button we're going to send a signal to that logic gate. That's the key point. So on new logic connection, when button pressed, can we input a signal into this gate? So this is our switch, yeah, our and or scenario. Okay, so the first thing here is we're going to presume that the daylight is already turned on. Yeah, we're going to presume that we're already in daylight. So we're going to say, right, when you press the button, it'll be the first time which we'd switch it off. So new logic connection on output. Yeah, can we input a signal to this particular gate? Okay, can we input a signal into here? Now this is now to switch the power off. Okay, so we're going to send that signal to this one. This controls the turning off scenario. So on output, can we point to our power generator and can we turn it off? So all the lights will go off on the screen. Yeah. New logic connection again on output. Yeah. Can we change the sky? Right. Let's go to the change sky. Now the one we want to do is under Disney Infinity 1. And like I mentioned previously, Disney Infinity 2, sorry, and it's called the Pitch Black Sky. You have to unlock this doing a challenge in the toy box area that comes free with the whole level. Go behind the cinema, I think it is, and there's a set of things you can do. But we choose the pitch black sky there. Now the other thing we do, which is important, is that once we've switched the sky, we need to now close the first gate. So on output, so from output there, can you close that gate? So then if we press the button again, we want to go to the other route. Yeah, that gate will now be closed. So we then do new logic connection. When input blocked, can we go to the other button? Okay, so we input that into there. Okay, so that now sends a signal in. Now we want the thing to go on, so we do new logic connection on output. Can we turn our power generator back on? So we'd have the little flashing lights going, so that'll let the user know we've got the power back on. At the same time, we can get it to change the sky, so new logic connection on output. Yeah. Can we go back to our sky changer, and can we go all the way back down to our third section and we choose the echo based skies. Okay, and that will give us the impression that the lights have all come back on. And then the last thing we need to do is new logic connection on output. Can we reopen the gate? Okay, and that's now set, and now they switch on and off, so you've got your ORs and your ANDs all switching between the two. Now whatever in our game now, whenever we want to cut the power, all we've got to do is our gate there to the right, all we've got to do is send a signal in now, and that'll shut all the power down. So I'm going to leave the logic gates open a bit at the moment, but I'm just going to move that, so watch it. If I just do a quick test, look, power goes off, it all goes off, goes dark, power's gone on. Yeah. If I touch the power again, generator boots up, lights come back on, and we're all working. So it proves it works. Yeah. But like I said, the logic gate on the right, that's the thing that does all the work on it. So I'm just going to move the sky changer and just put that down out of the way. Right, so let's move that down. And I've already created a few little terrains underneath the map. I don't think I've shown myself doing that, but I've just created some space to put those items there. But we will move all those to hide out the way, so we'll hide the logic all the way, but you'll see I've created a number of little terrain things. I don't think I've shown you that part, but you get the gist of what you've got to do there. So I'm just going to move a terrain part underneath. Let's grab my sky changer, let's pull that down so it fits directly underneath it, and we'll just put that down there on the sky. Now I have to say, I don't even think I need to put these things on a land. I feel like I have to put them on a land. You can just leave them in limbo, but I tend to do it. But that's the one that switches the power off. Okay, so all I've got to do in my level, wherever I want the power to go, where do I cut the power? All I've got to do is send a signal to that gate. And when we cut the power is when we walk into this little area here. We have those other three doors which have to be opened by completing your level. But before you get to that door, that's where we cut the power. So we're just getting a simple now trigger area. Oh yeah, I need a couple of logic gates first, so let's put a couple of logic gates here. I need one logic gate here. Right, this is going to allow us to switch certain things on. Yeah, so what we do need to do is you can't just have the trigger area all the time. Yeah, because we need to be able to deactivate the trigger area so that when you go back, you're not there turning the power off each time. I need the button there, so which will work. Okay, so this button here is going to turn that logic gate on. That logic gate is going to do the door, but when we walk into the trigger, I'm going to close that logic gate. Okay, so new button on pressed. Okay, input into there, and from output on there, we will then trigger the door, the final door. So new logic connection on output. So that there actually opens the door. Yeah. Now we need the logic gate between the two, because when we walk into the trigger which we're about to put on, we're going to close that gate. Yeah, that's going to be important, which means the button doesn't work. Yeah, so we must then close that gate on the screen, otherwise you just walk through the area, so they may shut the sky off, but we want to be able to do it. It only works once the power's back on. So in this case, what happens here is if we press, see that there is when it goes off, the power goes off from there. Yeah, so new logic connection on output from that gate. If you turn the power off, yeah, you will close that gate. Yeah, so that's just because we cut the power, it switches that button on to work. Yeah, so if we press that power button on, that switches it off. Right, let's get my trigger area. Right, but what I do now is if I put my trigger area in, and the trigger area wants just to cut between the two, there you go. Fits in perfectly, look at the space in there. And I'm actually just resize that to fill the whole area. Now remember, the trigger area only wants to work once. Yeah. So what we're going to need here is we're going to need a couple of logic gates here to make sure the logic gate only works in one scenario. So let's get rid of the logic gate. So we need 2 of these. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so 2 logic gates. Right. So when we walk into this area here, so new logic connection. When we enter here, and it's when a player enters, any player. Okay, and if you've done that, you're halfway through your level. We're going to input a signal into that gate. So input a signal into that gate. So that now sends a signal through to the gate. If that's the case, we can do new logic connection. Yeah. So we walk into there. So new logic connection. On output, can we send it to this gate here? So it records. So we have to send the message away. So we now know that we've got a signal. Now what we can do is we can now send it back and switch this logic gate off. Yeah. So I can switch it off, which means the trigger area only works once. Yeah. So that's now closed the trigger area off. Now at the same time, new logic connection on output. Yeah. Can you cut the power? Yeah. So if I input a signal into here, that will then cut the power, and by cutting the power, we've already linked it back to the other gate, which will close the other trigger. Yeah. So go back into there. That will go back and then cut the power off the screen. So that sends that signal back all the way across and closes that gate. Now you could have done it that way, and I can leave it there, or I could actually then say, actually, I don't have to do it there. I just can close the other gate anyway. So a new logic connection on output. I could have gone to there. So I'm doing overkill here, but I could have done onto that button, gone straight to there, and say, right, close that gate. Either way would have worked. Now you might be wondering why there was a split screen in this particular section, because I was so concentrating on how to cut the power, I forgot to show you how to switch the power back on. And so it was quite fundamental. So if you see the places moved in different places, I had to reshoot this again because yes, I was a bit of a muppet. So we're always worried about making sure that gate was closed, and therefore what we need to do is we need to make sure it's reopened. And that is happened by our other switch. This switch here, if we send the signal into there, we've turned the power on, and if that's the case, we need to do a new logic connection on output. We need to send that back to the other gate, and we need to open it. That will then make the switch work. So I'm interested about cutting the power, but at the same time I must then switch it back on. So that is vital that I did that particular section. Yeah. So I must open that doorway, and now that button will work. And because we've done the trigger area only to work once, when we walk back into the trigger area, it will now not longer close it. So it was a bit of a mess up there. So we thought, thank God for that. So we've got our little connections here. We'll do a couple of others, but that was the bit I was playing. There was 2 from those gates, 1 to close it, 1 to open it. So sorry about the little error, but you'll find you'll all make these little mistakes, but it does work on that screen. So I now return back. Okay, so now that we've got those done and we've now got the logical work, and we can now move the buttons into place. I'm just going to bring this down, and we'll place the button here. See, seamlessly, I could have just kept quiet and just said I planned it. Right, now before I move these, and I'm going to move them, but I realise I need to bring it back up for a second, because what happens when we start a new level? These gates could be open and closed. So we need to go back to our reset switch, which we've kept in the same place all this time. That button there does a reset. So new logic connection on output. What I need to do with these gates, I need to switch these on. So go down to here. Can you open that gate? So I want it to reopen up. Okay, so that's that one done. I need to do the same with the other one. New logic connection. So constantly thinking, what's the default settings for these? And this comes from my output switch. So back all the way up. So when I do my challenge marker, if you watch the very first clip, we set a challenge marker up, and when you start a game, it just hits the reset switch, so you can go back and do the whole thing again. So that opens that area. So we are now back. Everything's switched back on. Everything's working fine. They're all ready to go from that particular game. Now I can move them out of the way. And that's basically how we cut the power. And again, I'm laying them out in a way that I can relate that they're separated between each group. So let's pull these down. And we've got one more. The other one. And what am I going to tell you to do now? What, before you move these objects around? What am I going to say? I'm going to say save your toy box. It doesn't like sometimes moving the things out of the way and can crash. And one thing we haven't done any of the decorating the site purely on the fact it takes up more memory. Now, one last thing on the reset button. When we start a new challenge, or when we do reset, what we're going to do here is we are going to input a signal into here. So whatever the stage is, if your time ran out and died, when you input a new signal, it resets it, which turns on the power line. Yeah, so that will do that particular option. Okay, and now I can move those out of the way. Right, that's really it for how to cut the power. And so you can use that into your toy box. I've been trying to use that power generator for ages because I really like it. It's a really cool little thing. The only downside is I wish it wasn't with a snow ground. I could use power generator or else. I always feel that I have to use it in a snow environment because it's got the snow around it. I wish they'd done a couple of different variations of them, but that's beside the point. Right, well, I hope you like the clip. I think we might be... No, I think we've got 2 more clips, or maybe 1 or 2 more clips for this, and then we've done a host set on Echo Base. I'll see if I can condense it all into one more. I'm not too sure, but I'll hopefully get that out for you for tomorrow. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you're liking these clips. I hope you're liking the format, breaking into smaller sections, and anyway, speak to you soon, guys. Catch you later. Cheers.